Part 149. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1481. In fact, the most effective reason to help the Silver Wolf clan integrate into the magic world is the faction issue. The werewolves originally belonged to Voldemort's faction. The special fear brought by Fenrir Greyback provided Voldemort with considerable help. Hundreds of werewolf wizards are also a very strong fighting force. Fenrir's personal strength is still above that of Professor Lupin in the past. In the later period, they helped Voldemort do many bad things. Even though Voldemort seemed to be dead, the Death Eaters were still there, and the werewolves continued to be their thugs. This has always been a headache for the Ministry of Magic. Due to Lupin's efforts, the werewolf forces were transformed into the Silver Wolf forces. Needless to say, the faction has definitely changed from leaning towards Voldemort to leaning towards the Ministry of Magic. It is said that a man who knows the times is a hero. Seeing the new Silver Wolf forces cooperate so well, it is also normal for the Ministry of Magic to issue a pardon to the Silver Wolf who has not committed a minor crime. Besides, they can also claim that they are controlled by the Imperious Curse like Lucius and others. Give the Ministry of Magic a step down, and it will be done. With Xiao Ming's financial resources and the multifaceted operations of many allied forces, this matter became a reality a few months later. Those who provided help for this matter included, Dumbledore representing Hogwarts, Sirius representing part of the Black family, Arthur representing the Weasley family, and the Daily Prophet. Lupin was almost busy because of this matter. The leader's right guard, Huang Xiaoming, was very comfortable. He was too lazy to care about these things involving political games. After paying the money, he hid in Guangmingding and devoted himself to practicing the longevity formula. At the same time, the leader Yin Xiaoming, who was in Ollivander's wand shop, was also concentrating on studying the knowledge of wands. At the beginning, Xiaoming made a subversive suggestion to Mr. Ollivander. It has been nearly a year now, and he still hasn't researched any decent results. This is not surprising. It is more difficult to start something from scratch. It really takes a lot of time and energy to explore from scratch. However, Xiaoming did bring back a new material for the old man, Silver Wolf hair. The Silver Wolf clan is so special that their hair should be used as the core material of the wand. If it is feasible, the Silver Wolf clan can sell their hair for money. Of course, Mr. Ollivander has to do the specific experiment himself. Xiaoming does not have this kind of innovative talent, so he just needs to wait for the master's answer in the future. In addition, in the past year, Xiaoming has entered the underground vault of Gringotts Bank dozens of times through the disappearing cabinet. He stole a lot of good things. Just after the first launch ceremony of the Silver Wolf clan, Xiaoming's luck improved, probably because of doing good things. Soon he sneaked into the vault of the Lestrange family. The Lestrange family, one of the 28 sacred families. It is the surname of an ancient pure-blood wizard family. This family originated in France, but it also has branches in Britain. This branch is also ancient and rich. They have a vault full of treasures in Gringotts Wizarding Bank. The highest level of security measures are used. Like the Black family, many members of the Lestrange family are also keen on using black magic and are also pure-blood supremacists. Hate Muggles, Muggleborns, and pure-blood traitors. Therefore, this family has a bad reputation in the wizarding world. There are several Death Eaters in the family. The most famous one is Bellatrix Lestrange. She is Sirius's cousin and comes from the Black family. She married Rodolphus, the eldest son of the Lestrange family. They and Rodolphus's brother Robistan are all loyal followers of Voldemort. They were the ones who tortured Neville Longbottom's parents crazy. Currently, the three of them are imprisoned in Azkaban prison. In addition, Narcissa, the wife of Lucius Malfoy, is Bellatrix's sister. The phenomenon of intermarriage between pure-blood families is serious. Let's not talk about these digressions for now. Because of the existence of these loyal followers, Voldemort gave one of his Horcruxes, Hufflepuff's gold cup, to Bellatrix for safekeeping. Of course, Bella put the gold cup in the vault, which was the safest place she knew, except for Hogwarts Castle. There are many defensive devices used in the bank. The first is the anti-thief waterfall. This is a magical waterfall. When the goblin train carries guests, it can wash away all spells and magical disguises, and at the same time make the carts fall off the track. There are magical security patrols in the corridors of the vault. If they see the wrong person coming to take things, they have the ability to capture them directly. There is also a half-blind fire dragon guarding. It is not really tamed, but is only used to prevent intruders or unauthorized personnel from approaching the vault near them. This fire dragon was tamed in an inhumane way. When they hear the specific sound of the jingle pieces, they will recall the pain of the hot sword, and retreat reflexively, allowing authorized goblins and wizards to enter the vault. In addition, the vault will also use the copying spell and the fire spell. Any property touched by the thief will be burned and copied, but the copy is worthless. If they continue to touch the property, they will eventually be buried and crushed by the replica. In the original book, a few years later, the three protagonists will sneak into the vault and steal the Horcruxes. They have experienced all these defense methods. Thanks to their strength, Hermione's intelligence, and a little bit of luck, they were able to complete the task successfully. In the end, the three of them flew out on a dragon. It was a close call. Comparatively speaking, Xiao Ming's theft was not so thrilling. Whether it was the security guard, the goblin, or even the dragon, Xiao Ming was completely unaware of him. When he entered the vault, the residual soul of Voldemort in the Horcrux was automatically sucked into the underworld of Quafu. Xiao Ming realized belatedly, "Oh, there is a Horcrux here." A closer look revealed that it was the Hufflepuff's gold cup. From Voldemort's memory, Xiao Ming learned that when he was working in Borgin and Burke's, he found that Hepzibah Smith had two priceless treasures, the Hufflepuff's gold cup and the particularly precious locket that originally belonged to Salazar Slytherin. So Voldemort murdered Smith, put the blame on his house elf Hoki, stole the two treasures, and resigned, and disappeared. After he made it into a Horcrux, he gave it to Bellatrix. The real purpose was her vault. It should be safe enough there. But what Voldemort didn't understand was that he was just a villain. No matter how safe the place was, it would not be a problem for the protagonist. For a strong man like Xiao Ming who has used a cheat, it is a piece of cake. Because he hates the Lestrange family, Xiao Ming not only took away the golden cup that was no longer a Horcrux, but also stole more than half of the treasures. Even the dragon guard was abducted by Xiao Ming. He was really ruthless. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1482. The goblins in Gringotts were very depressed. Since Xiao Ming was calm when he stole, they still didn't know that the vault had been robbed. But the dragon guarding the vault was missing. As long as they were not blind, they would definitely know. And the dragon outside the Lestrange family vault was not the only one that was stolen. In the past 6 months, the magical creatures guarding the vault have frequently disappeared. In total, 3 dragons, 5 8-eyed giant spiders, 12 trolls, and a sphinx have been lost. The goblins suspected that there might be some unknown but very scary underground creatures that roamed near the underground vault and swallowed those monsters whole. This can explain why there was not even a trace of blood at the scene. Because of this incident, the entire Gringotts Bank was on high alert and suspicious. They were not only worried about the guards, but also worried that once the monster's taste changed, it might even eat goblins and humans, which would be a big trouble. The goblin executives were already discussing the issue of moving very seriously. If we can't afford to offend, can't we hide? This monster won't chase Gringotts headquarters, right? Xiaoming doesn't know how much trouble he has caused to the goblins. He just doesn't like to see those creatures being tortured. The Sphinx is a magical animal with a human head and a lion body that is native to Egypt. For more than 1,000 years, it has been used by wizards to guard their precious items and secret places. This is a very smart animal that understands human language and likes riddles and puzzles. It usually becomes dangerous only when the things it guards are threatened. This species is classified as a beast by the Ministry of Magic. But in fact, most humans are not as smart as Sphinx. They should be positioned as intelligent non-humans. According to the regulations of the Ministry of Magic, it is illegal to keep sphinxes. Legend has it that in the 18th century, a wizard named Crispin Kronk kept several sphinxes. After repeated warnings to no avail, the Ministry of Magic finally sent him to Azkaban. Because sphinxes are very smart, they usually reach an agreement with the goblins before they serve as the guards of the vault. It is fundamentally different from other tamed animals. Moreover, they often use riddles to embarrass the owner of the vault. As a result, except for some weird ones, most magicians prefer to use other animals with lower IQ. Xiaoming took away those dragons and spiders because he felt too pitiful for them. After helping them recover from their injuries, they were sent to their respective habitats far away from humans. Only the Sphinx took the initiative to follow. Although he couldn't see the invisible Xiaoming, he felt that the vault was stolen and took the initiative to speak to the heir to test. Xiaoming thought this creature was interesting, so he brought it out. But he was soon annoyed by his endless riddles. Throw it back to Egypt. Not long after being relaxed, in the late night of June 24, 1995, Xiaoming received a letter from Dumbledore sent by Phoenix. There was only one sentence on it: Voldemort is resurrected, come back quickly. That night, it was not only Old Deng who told the right guard of the leader, and Old Deng told Xiaoming not only. Countless messages were transmitted in the night sky. Almost all professors and magicians who had a good relationship with Xiaoming, including his friends in school, sent him letters. Even Xiaoming, an outsider, was like this, and the reaction of other magicians could be imagined. I don't know how many owls would be exhausted to death that night. Xiaoming himself was also very strange. As far as he knew, Voldemort's situation was very bad. He had no body and his soul was very weak. How could he be resurrected just like that? The real situation was like this. A year ago, Xiaoming punished the Death Eaters Amicus Caro and Electo Caro with the Sword of Reward and Punishment in Nocturne Alley. The two thought it was a punishment from Voldemort, so they acted quickly. Under the secret guidance of space, they found their former boss in the forest of Albania. So they replaced Peter Pettigrew in the original book. On the way, they also met Bertha Hawkins, a staff member of the Ministry of Magic, and brought her to Voldemort. This Bertha Hawkins is a very key figure. It's not that this woman is very strong in combat, but mainly because she played a big role in the development of the plot. She was born in 1958 and studied at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry from 1969 to 1976, 2 years higher than Harry's father James and others. Bertha is a gossipy and unsocial person, in short, a gossipy woman. This kind of personality is very unpopular. After graduating from Hogwarts, she worked in the Ministry of Magic. As a result, she was driven from one department to another, and finally stayed in the Department of Magical Sports and Sports. The summer of 1994 was the turning point and the end point of the fate of this poor man. Because of work, Bertha once went to the home of Barty Crouch Sr., the then Minister of International Magical Exchange and Cooperation of the Ministry of Magic. Discovered an unknown secret. Barty Crouch Jr., the son of Barty Sr., is a Death Eater. He should have been imprisoned in Azkaban prison. Later, at the request of his wife, Barty Sr. was sent to Azkaban, and he used Polyjuice potion to make his seriously ill wife exchange identities with Barty Jr. to die in his place. After rescuing his son from Azkaban, he used the Imperious Curse to control his behavior, used the invisibility cloak to cover his tracks for many years, and ordered the house elf Winky to monitor and guard him every step of the way. Bertha accidentally overheard the conversation between Winky and Barty Jr. If it were someone else, they would have pretended not to hear it. But Bertha was too straightforward and questioned old Barty directly. As a result, she was cast with a strong forgetfulness spell and forgot about it. When she was brought to Voldemort by the Carrows, the Dark Lord used a more powerful magic to break the forgetfulness spell, and then learned about the plan to hold the Triwizard Tournament and discovered that his loyal servant Barty Jr. was still alive. Voldemort's magic power was too strong. After he squeezed out this news, Bertha's spirit was completely destroyed and she was killed immediately. The Triwizard Tournament was founded about 700 years ago. It is a friendly competition between the three largest magic schools in Europe. The three schools are Hogwarts, Beauxbatons, and Durmstrang School of Magic. Each school selects a warrior and then competes in 3 magic projects. The event is held every 5 years and is hosted by the 3 schools in turn. Due to the large number of deaths in the competition, it has been interrupted for hundreds of years. In 1994, the Department of International Magical Cooperation and the Department of Magical Sports and Magic of the Ministry of Magic thought that the time was ripe for another attempt, so they reopened the event. Not only did they offer a prize of 1,000 galleons, but they also set an age limit, and only students over 17 years old were allowed to register. In other words, except for repeaters, only the top 2 classes of students were eligible to participate. Such students could theoretically work in the Ministry of Magic. So the Ministry of Magic thought it would be safer. Little did they know that this event had been targeted by Voldemort. For him, this was a rare opportunity. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1483. Voldemort took the Carrows to the Crouch family first. He rescued his loyal servant Barty the Younger. At the same time, he controlled Barty the Elder with the Imperious Curse. It was really a turn of events. Barty the Elder had been using the Imperious Curse to control his son, and this time it was his turn to have a taste of it. During the Triwizard Tournament, Igor Karkaroff, the headmaster of Durmstrang School of Magic, would also come to Hogwarts. He was originally a Death Eater. So Dumbledore specially invited an old friend, Alastor Moody, a former member of the Order of the Phoenix and an Auror, to come to the school to teach the Defense Against the Dark Arts class and to calm down the situation. Moody has a moving magic eye that can see the surrounding environment 360 degrees without blind spots. This creepy appearance gave him the nickname Mad Eye. Moody was missing a leg, and replaced it with a wooden prosthesis. Under the thick dark gray hair, his face looked scarred, like a piece of rotten wood. A large part of his nose was missing. These were the scars left by his countless heroic fights against the dark magic as an Auror. Moody, who was strong and experienced, became a member of the First Order of the Phoenix in the 1970s. It is rumored that half of the prisoners in Azkaban prison were sent there by him. This may be a bit exaggerated, but his strength is definitely not to be underestimated, and it is estimated that he is no less powerful than several deans. Principal Igor was captured and sent to Azkaban by Mad Eye Moody after 6 months of pursuit. Because he betrayed several Death Eater companions including Barty the Younger, the Ministry of Magic decided to pardon him. Being able to become the principal of Durmstrang School of Magic and Wizardry shows that his power and connections are quite powerful. Dumbledore felt that he could not fully trust Igor, and the threat of Voldemort was always lingering, so he found this retired old friend. I believe that under the surveillance of Moody's magic eye, the Death Eaters should not be able to play any tricks. But what old Dumbledore never expected was that this trick had been seen through by Voldemort. The night before Moody was about to leave for Hogwarts, Barty Jr., together with the Carrow brothers and sisters, attacked him. Then Barty Jr. used the Polyjuice potion to disguise himself as Moody. Go to Hogwarts to do things for the boss. This is a huge sacrifice. Only a diehard like him would be willing to do this. Similarly, Voldemort did not dare to trust others. Because taking this decoction is very painful. The whole person's internal organs are churning, as if swallowing several live snakes, and the burning sensation will spread all over the body from the stomach. The most troublesome thing is that this decoction is not permanent. Due to the difference in the quality of the potion, the effective time varies from about 10 minutes to 12 hours. And Barty Jr. needs to pretend to be Moody for a whole school year in Hogwarts school. So he basically has to take the medicine many times a day to avoid being exposed. Every time he took the medicine, he had to endure the pain again. If he was not a die-hard fan, he would not be able to hold on for so long. He probably gave up in less than a week. The trouble was not only that, the Polyjuice potion was a very advanced potion, and the entire production process took a month. It was a challenge for adult magicians. Barty Jr. not only had to take the medicine every day, but also had to carry a large amount of raw materials and make medicine regularly. This kind of operation was not something that everyone could play. Later, due to the lack of raw materials, he had to take the risk of stealing the medicine from Snape, and he was almost exposed because of this. In addition, the last step of making this potion requires a little bit of living DNA from the target person, hair, nails, etc. It was because of this that the real Moody was not killed. Instead, he was locked in a magic box by Barty Jr. and brought into the school. Unfortunately, Dumbledore had no doubts about his old friend, so he did not see through the disguise of the fake Moody. In fact, he missed a good opportunity to distinguish the true from the false. Because old Moody was in retirement before, when teaching ninjutsu to the members of the Order of the Phoenix, the old Dumbledore deliberately did not teach him. This round, he planned to fight with only the young people, and did not want to drag along this old friend who was already half buried. Otherwise, as long as he saw that there was no trace of chakra on the new Moody, Dumbledore would be able to tell at a glance that this was a fake. There would not be so many things in the future. Moody, disguised as Barty Jr., and Barty Sr., who was controlled by the Imperious Curse, had only one task, to ensure that Harry Potter participated in the Triwizard Tournament and won. This required them to do a good job along the way. Because Harry was only 14 years old this year, and was far from 17 years old. At the beginning of the selection of warriors, they had to cheat once. After that, there were 3 events in the tournament, and they had to ensure that Harry was not eliminated every time. You have to know that Harry was still young after all, and his combat power and experience were definitely much worse than the other 3 17-year-old warriors. Every clearance was a difficult problem. During this period, Barty Sr. tried to break through the control of the Imperious Curse with his own will, and tried to tell Dumbledore about Voldemort's plan, but was unfortunately discovered and killed by Barty Jr. After that, Barty Jr. fought alone to ensure Harry's success and personally touched the final prize of the Triwizard Tournament, the Goblet of Fire. This Goblet of Fire had been replaced by a portrait. Anyone who touched the fake Goblet of Fire would be transported to the Riddle family cemetery. Here, the Carrow brothers and sisters prepared an ancient dark magic ritual. A cauldron with a prepared potion was set up. During the ceremony, Voldemort with a simple body was put in, a thigh bone of Tom Riddle Sr., Voldemort's father, was put in. The servant Amicus Carrow cut off his left hand and put it in, and finally stabbed Harry's arm and added his blood. With the help of the ceremony, Voldemort restored his body. With the body, Voldemort's strength finally returned. He summoned the Death Eaters who were not imprisoned in Azkaban to the cemetery. He gave them some small punishments. In front of these subordinates, the Dark Lord forced Harry to duel with him and tried to kill Harry. He announced his strong return. As a result, some accidents happened. Harry touched the door key again in time and returned to Hogwarts from the cemetery. He also made the news of Voldemort's resurrection public. It caused an uproar. Compared with the original book, the plot has changed a bit. The role of the Caro brothers and sisters should actually be the role of Pettigrew. In addition, in the original book, Hogwarts warrior Cedric Diggory was also teleported to the cemetery when he touched the goblet of fire with Harry. He was killed by Pettigrew. In this life, due to the interference of the reincarnationists, Cedric hesitated before touching the door key, resulting in him not being teleported to the cemetery to die in vain. The reincarnationists who completed this task also received a very good reward. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1484. In the Death Eater's plan, Harry Potter should have died at the hands of the resurrected Voldemort and should not have returned to Hogwarts. So when Harry came back, Barty Crouch Jr., who was pretending to be Mad-Eye Moody, showed a very surprised look. And this scene happened to be seen by Dumbledore. Afterwards, Moody took Harry back to his office and tried to kill him. Dumbledore, Snape, and others arrived in time and captured him. Under the effect of the most powerful truth serum, Barty Jr. told the truth of the incident. Otherwise, Hogwarts and the Ministry of Magic would really be kept in the dark. Later, the Minister of Magic Cornelius Fudge came and arranged for the Dementors to give Barty Jr. a fatal kiss that was worse than death. These things were described to Xiao Ming from their own perspectives by Dumbledore and others after he returned to Hogwarts. As for the involvement of the reincarnationists, it was because those reincarnationists had not all left after Xiao Ming came back that he learned the details. In fact, Xiao Ming would not care about such a small matter. But the reincarnation who did not leave was someone Xiao Ming knew. So he cared a little. Who is this person? It was the female reincarnation 13146 that Xiao Ming met in the world of Saint Seiya. We have introduced this person before. She was deeply in love with one of the warriors who pioneered the dawn hundreds of years ago. Therefore, she followed that group of warriors and fell into the private world trap set by Fang's Hishuan. It was in the world of outside the Aquila Rift. Fortunately, he met Xiao Ming, who entered that world, dealt with Fang's Hishuan, she thought she was Kawashima Yoshiko, and released everyone. Unfortunately, the man that 13146 loved deeply had died before, and her love was destined to be unrequited. Wrong. She really got it back. Although the man died, a little DNA was preserved in the lifeboat where he was. In order to reward their achievements, the New Han Kingdom used brand new technology and the resources of the reincarnation world to resurrect all the dead warriors. Needless to say, those who were already alive are all alive and kicking. However, it is hard to say whether the souls of the warriors who died and were resurrected are actually returning. Xiao Ming and Xiao Zhu cleaned the memories of all the reincarnators, but the royal family of the New Han Kingdom still knew part of the truth through some means. One of the means was to partially restore the memory of 13146. Most of the others did not restore their memories. The New Han Kingdom sent all of these people home. The return of a large number of missing reincarnators caused quite a stir on Pangustar. It has not subsided yet. However, this stir did not affect the general public, nor did it affect Xiao Ming, a civil servant in the underworld, so it was just as if it did not exist. The 8 warriors who pioneered the dawn gained both fame and fortune, and they received a grand and private award from the royal family of the New Han Kingdom. These 8 people have made such great contributions, and the New Han Kingdom specially allows them to do whatever they want. As long as they do not commit crimes, there are no taboos. Even committing a small crime is definitely okay. In addition, the royal family bypassed various restrictions through some authority and revealed the news of the reincarnation space to them. Knowing that there is such a magical world, they chose to form a team and explore the reincarnation space collectively. To form an 8-person team, a large amount of resources in the reincarnation space are consumed. Even the 12 Kings family rarely organizes such a large fixed team. Generally, a team of 4-6 is most suitable for the reincarnation space. It depends on the ability of the team members. It's not that the 12 Kings family does not have more money, but that the cost-effectiveness of expanding the team is too low and it is not cost-effective. However, the request of these 8 people was still met by the royal family of the New Han Kingdom. They really formed an 8-person team, and the team name was Warriors of the Dawn. Some people may ask, is it really worth it? For 8 scientists, so many resources are wasted? It's not reasonable. In fact, the New Han Kingdom has deeper considerations for doing this. After all, these 8 warriors are admired and loved by a large number of people. In the reincarnation space, there are many strange ways to cash in this admiration and love. Convert it into their individual strength. So these 8 people are all popular, and the New Han Kingdom also wants to see how far they can grow. Can they finally become gods with faith? Their situation is rare. It is difficult to deliberately create it. When they happen to encounter such an opportunity, the New Han Kingdom certainly did not want to miss it. In addition, 13,140 SIX's contribution in this matter is not small. It was because of her encounter with Xiaoming that these warriors and many other people were rescued. After the New Han Kingdom found out the situation, it naturally would not treat 13,146 badly. Money, fame, and fortune are all available. The happiest thing is that her deeds moved the warrior she secretly loved. The two actually came together, which can be regarded as a sweet ending after all the hardships. Not only did they get married in reality, they also got married in the reincarnation space, binding the two with a pair of rings. So every time the warriors team goes on a mission, there is always a 9th person. In addition, the nickname that warrior gave himself in his spaces, 33,347, 3 lives, 3 worlds of love, which is a perfect match with 13,146, 1 life, 1 world of love. He abuses the other 7 singles. He has no sense of public morality. The New Han Kingdom told these 8 warriors most of the information about the reincarnation world that they knew. This allowed them to avoid detours. They also gave them a lot of resources. As expected, the few people lived up to expectations and grew very fast. It has only been more than 2 months, and the team is actually qualified to carry out the task of interfering with the Tri-Wizard tournament. This shows that their strength is not bad. Of course, this strength is also limited. The task given by the space is just to let them rescue an insignificant little character, Cedric Diggory. They were not asked to stop Voldemort's resurrection ceremony. And the method adopted was a roundabout way of attacking from the side. The warriors did not dare to intervene in the game. This shows that their strength will not be too strong. If they had B level or even C+ level combat power, they would dare to try their skills in the game. After the mission was successful, 13146 used the mission card to continue to stay in this world, just to say hello to the leader's right guard. This strange name, the characters in the plot certainly don't care, but the reincarnations know what's going on. When 13,146 heard the words right guardian of the leader during her contact with the protagonists, she was extremely shocked. Because in the Saint Seiya world, the reincarnation 13,146 met was the right guardian of the leader. She even guessed that this person was her savior. So, she reluctantly stayed in this world for a while, just to meet the right guardian of the leader. To express her gratitude in person. In addition, to inform her of her good news. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1485. Xiaoming actually admires this 13,146. Her original major in supernatural energy was telekinesis. With her powerful telekinesis ability, she was able to enter the private world and reach her lover. But he also permanently lost his mind power. He was also controlled by the guy who thought he was Yoshiko Kawashima. However, 13,146 continued to strive for self-improvement, and soon cultivated the small universe to a good level, reaching the level of a B-level reincarnator, equivalent to the Silver Saint. Moreover, her unique skill electricity with love is also quite unique. By singing a song, she condenses all her strength into one blow. You can instantly possess the power of the Golden Saint. If she has a group of teammates who can protect her, this move can be a powerful weapon. In fact, with her fighting ability, she could follow Harry for a walk in the cemetery. Facing the newly resurrected Voldemort, it would not be a problem to be evenly matched. If the timing is very precise and the trick is launched at the best time, Voldemort may be resurrected in vain this time. However, 13,146 did not do this, because if this was the purpose, all resources would be focused on her. This was not what she wanted. Therefore, she still focused on the warriors of the Dawn team and tried her best to help them win rewards and improve their strength. This time 13,146 deliberately stayed in this world to meet the leader's right guard, Huang Xiaoming. The main purpose was of course to express his gratitude in person. The secondary purpose is to connect with each other. I hope that the leader's right guard can help the warrior team when we have the opportunity to meet him in the future. Xiaoming said to himself, do they still need me now? There are so many people on the pole to help. One more person is not more than me, and one person less than me is not a lot. I'd better help you. Generally, people in Xiaoming's gang like to use the sword of rewarding good and punishing evil to ensure that the person is qualified to receive help. But this sword is not very suitable for 13,146. Because 13,146 is not a good person in the orthodox sense, everything she does is because she likes 33,347. Although she has done some good deeds and will be rewarded with a sword that rewards good and punishes evil, this reward cannot be too good. So Xiaoming specially gave her a very memorable treasure. Devilfish scale clothes. No, no. This gift is too expensive, I really can't accept it. 13,146 refused hastily. This is an A-level protective gear, and it just matches the little universe. It would be a lie to say that she doesn't want it, but it's no reward, and she feels that she hasn't even repaid her previous life-saving grace. She is really embarrassed to accept such a high-end product. Gift. Don't be polite, Xiaoming persuaded with a smile, do you still remember, we had a fight over the scale coat? I don't have any use for it now, so it's just right for you. Besides, you weren't newly married. Okay. Consider this a gift from me. Seeing that 13,146 still looked reluctant, Xiaoming continued to add, I also respect the warriors who opened up the dawn. You often do tasks with them now. With this scale coat, you can better protect them. You have done your part for me. Okay, no more. Goodbye. Finally, Xiaoming stopped talking nonsense, put the scale clothes on her body, and directly used his space ability to teleport 13,146 out of his room. It's like forcing a gift onto someone. The little girl simply didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There were still such people in the world, so she would have made a mistake. It seems that they are not thinking about themselves, but really for the 8 warriors. She is still in Hogwarts Castle at the moment. If she really doesn't want the scale coat, she can still find Xiaoming to return it. But that would be too pretentious. 13,146 I just feel that the gift is too expensive and I am embarrassed to accept it. How can I really not want it? Since the leader's right guard has reached this point, she can only be disrespectful. However, she also thought about it, not to get the benefits of others for nothing, and she would discuss it carefully with her husband after returning home to see how to repay the favor. The warrior team has obtained a lot of resources from the New Han Kingdom, and they are not poor. There are also high-level items, but they are currently not strong enough and cannot be used for the time being. It shouldn't be a problem to take one of them out as a return gift. Now that you have met your old friend, let's do other things quickly. 13,146 was able to stay in this world through the use of random mission cards. That small mission didn't have much reward, but she couldn't waste it. Besides, she has accumulated a lot of favorability points from several professors and students, and she can take the opportunity to redeem them for some benefits. Let's get down to business quickly. In fact, not long after, she met Xiaoming again. But it's not Huang Xiaoming from Hogwarts, but Yin Xiaoming, the clone of Yu Yu who works part-time at Ollivander's wand shop. Fortunately, Xiaoming used magic to cover it up, so she just looked at it casually when passing by and didn't recognize it. Previously, 13,146 and the warrior team earned a lot of gold galleons in the world of Harry Potter. They spent more than half of it on the mission, but left a small part. As a girl, she would not be willing to leave without spending all the money. As for what she will buy in Diagon Alley, that has nothing to do with Xiaoming. What really deserves Xiaoming's attention is the Voldemort's resurrection incident. In the final scene of the Triwizard Tournament, Harry Potter returned to Hogwarts from the cemetery alone, claiming that Voldemort had been resurrected. But no evidence could be provided. Originally, if he had been given a truth serum, it would have been a reliable proof. But the little truth serum that Professor Snape had left was used on Barty Crouch Jr. It was not available for the time being. There were some differences between Dumbledore and Minister of Magic Fudge on whether to believe this matter. Old Dumbledore had long suspected that Voldemort was not dead, and Harry's experience was nothing more than a confirmation of this. At the same time, he also felt very regretful. He should not have sent the right guard of the leader to do the mission with Lupin. Although they did a very good job, they even turned the entire werewolf group. It was far beyond the expectations of any member of the Order of the Phoenix, including Dumbledore himself. But if the right guard of the leader was still in the school, by Harry's side, it is estimated that the problem of the fake Moody would have been discovered long ago. Then Voldemort would not be so easy to resurrect. Old Dumbledore regretted it, but Minister Fudge was hesitant. He did not want to admit that Voldemort was still alive. In the past 10 years, the Ministry of Magic has developed quite well under his leadership. He really did not want to disrupt such a peaceful life. At the same time, he was also worried that his approval rating would drop. However, Fudge couldn't figure out the complicated relationship for the time being, and he also needed Dumbledore's support, so he didn't refute it on the spot. Instead, he proposed that the Ministry of Magic would evaluate the authenticity of the matter. In fact, he planned to go back to his confidants to carefully discuss the pros and cons. It's a pity that Umbridge, his best confidant and think tank, went crazy more than a year ago, otherwise he wouldn't have to be so troubled. Fortunately, the old ones don't go, the new ones don't come, and Fudge still has other confidants to trust. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1486. Who is lucky enough to become the confidant of the Minister of Magic? It is none other than Barnabas Guffey, the editor-in-chief of the Daily Prophet, and Rita Skeeter, a reporter. Before, Xiaoming had placed bugs on the bone in the bodies of these two people. In addition, Xiaoming gave them a large sum of gold galleons to find a backer. The Daily Prophet is indeed the largest newspaper in the British magic world. Barnabas and Rita have a wide network of contacts, smart brains, and wild ways. After 2 or 3 officials acted as a transfer, they actually got in touch with Minister Fudge, which is really amazing. In addition, the money Xiao Ming gave was indeed a bit too much. After entering Fudge's system, the advantages of reporters and editors were reflected. They have a certain grasp of public opinion and have unique insights into current affairs. The key is that they are eloquent and can turn black into white. They provide Fudge with considerable help. And also received corresponding rewards. In addition, the original confidant Umbridge has gone crazy. No one deliberately excluded them, after all, they were paid, so the two quickly became Fudge's core confidants. Rita was following and reporting the entire Triwizard tournament at Hogwarts. So Fudge left school with her, and did not even return to the Ministry of Magic. They immediately went to Diagon Alley, the newspaper office of the Daily Prophet, to discuss countermeasures with Barnabas. This matter cannot be delayed, because the report on the final of the Triwizard tournament must be sent out early tomorrow morning, so the tone must be set now. Regarding Harry Potter's resurrection of Voldemort, should they choose to believe it, not believe it, or remain silent? For such a big thing, Rita certainly did not make the decision on her own, and had already secretly asked for instructions from her boss, the leader's right guard. Xiao Ming's instructions were also very simple, as long as they agreed with Dumbledore. They could make up the specific reasons themselves. When Fudge asked for their opinions, Barnabas understood immediately after Rita opened her mouth, so the two of them sang in unison and talked Fudge so eloquently that he was almost crippled. He almost sold him a wheelchair. The two understood that with a person like Fudge, you can't talk about right and wrong, ideals, justice, these are worthless in Fudge's heart, and the best way is to talk about interests. So Rita began to analyze the advantages and disadvantages of different response plans. Although Fudge's first thought was to deny the matter and cover it up. As long as you don't admit the existence of the problem, then the problem doesn't exist. But Rita told him that this was the stupidest way. After all, Voldemort's body has never been found. If he really resurrected, Fudge would cover up the truth, and that would be the end. Not only would his political career end completely and he would be cursed for all eternity, the most terrible thing is that if he was held accountable and said he was a Death Eater, he would not even be able to save his life. Although this is the stupidest way to do it, Rita also knows that this is a common problem for many politicians on Earth. Even the magic world is not immune. It is a compromise to keep silent about Harry's words. Others can believe it or not, but the Ministry of Magic will not bear this responsibility anyway. Using the investigation as an excuse, it will drag on until the truth is revealed. Whether this is right or wrong, it is the responsibility of Harry, the initiator, and Dumbledore, who fully trusts Harry. In theory, Fudge is not wrong. Because he is investigating. However, this fence-sitting method, although it sounds reasonable, is actually very stupid. If the news is confirmed to be true, Fudge will have a reputation for inaction. People will say, how can we take the Dark Lord lightly? The Ministry of Magic was given time to prepare to deal with Voldemort and the Death Eaters, but it did not make good use of it. It will definitely be criticized. If the news is false, others will also say that Fudge is a fool, and even a 14-year-old child can deceive him. Why do we need to conduct an investigation and waste the public resources of the Ministry of Magic, blah blah blah? Anyway, Fudge is not a good person inside and outside. The general public is like this, and they will be criticized for finding faults. So the best way for Fudge is to be tough. With the help of Voldemort and the Death Eaters, the powerful enemy, the Ministry of Magic can be united. Even unify public opinion. The biggest advantage of doing this is that you can gain greater power. Because this is equivalent to the war period. The power of the Prime Minister during wartime is the greatest. And you can also get the support of the Hogwarts school system and the greatest wizard of today, Dumbledore. Why not? Fudge objected and said, don't just think about good things. What if it is confirmed that this matter is false? Will you not be questioned when the truth is revealed? Barnabas and Rita looked at each other and smiled tacitly. He leaned close to Fudge's ear and said mysteriously, Minister, even if it's fake, we can make it real. What? Fudge was shocked and didn't understand for a moment. He thought Barnabas was going to train the next Voldemort. He asked sternly, what do you mean? Are you Death Eaters? Oh, Barnabas and Rita both felt like they were going to collapse. Fudge's political ability is too low. It can be said that if it weren't for Dumbledore's support and Umbridge's outstanding ability over the years, this guy wouldn't have been able to be the minister at all. What are you thinking about? Barnabas hurriedly explained, I mean, we just need to send someone to pretend to be the mysterious man. I don't want him to really be resurrected. Voldemort's original name was Tom Marvolo Riddle. Later, because he hated his Muggle ancestry, he swapped the letters of his name and changed it to Voldemort. He has the title of the most dangerous black magician in history, and most people dare not call him by his first name. Because everyone suspected that the name had been cursed by a Death Eater. Once someone tells it, it will break the magic barrier and cause disturbance, which will be traced by Voldemort and Death Eaters. You can't commit suicide like this. So people usually use you-know-who, he who must not be named, or the Dark Lord, to call him. Of course, the last title is usually used by Death Eaters or people who are more sympathetic to Voldemort. Most people wouldn't call it that. The only one who dared to call Voldemort by his first name was Dumbledore, a more powerful magician. And Harry Potter, a newborn calf who is not afraid of tigers. Harry is protected by his mother Lily's spell. Neither Voldemort nor Death Eaters could harm him until he reached adulthood. It was really okay if he called me by his first name. However, after Voldemort's resurrection, things changed. With Harry's blood flowing in the newly born Voldemort, Voldemort himself can now harm Harry. Therefore, Dumbledore must find a way to provide him with more protection. Harry was relatively safe inside Hogwarts Castle. But once he leaves school, Harry will be exposed to danger. Therefore, Mr. Deng urgently recalled the leader's right guard as a last resort. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1487. A husband can use copper as a mirror to correct his clothes and hats, he can use history as a mirror to know the rise and fall, he can use people as a mirror to understand gains and losses. The background of the world of Harry Potter is also the 20th century on Earth. Dumbledore defeated Grindelwald in 1945, when World War II had not yet ended. What a good mirror! At that time, the entire British Isles were shrouded in war, and the magic world was also restless. Although wizards are powerful, they are not invincible in the face of modern weapons. So even if the magic world looks down on the Muggle world, it still knows something about what happened at the time. Moreover, they are most likely to have taken action in the war. Fudge and many high-ranking officials of the Ministry of Magic are very clear about the deeds of the two British Prime Ministers, Chamberlain and Churchill. Using this as a mirror and comparing it, even if you can't get the correct answer, you shouldn't choose the most wrong answer. However, in the original book, Fudge chose the most wrong approach. This reflects the importance of people. There is a saying that you are not afraid of no good things, but you are afraid of no good people. Fudge chose to ignore all the evidence, opposed Dumbledore, and resolutely refused to admit that Voldemort had resurrected, all because of the instigation of Deputy Minister Umbridge. It is hard to say whether she was foolish unintentionally or intentionally. But the damage caused by this measure is huge. Due to the wrong response of the Ministry of Magic, Voldemort and the few remaining Death Eaters at the time were given precious time, allowing them to quickly gather their strength and grow stronger, and finally even the British Ministry of Magic was completely conquered. Under Voldemort's reign of terror, countless wizards were tortured and even sacrificed. If it weren't for a little luck, Harry Potter would have eliminated Voldemort during the final battle of Hogwarts, and the British magic world would have been annihilated. In this life, the situation is naturally different. Through the inside ghost secretly arranged by Xiao Ming, Fudge accepted the advice of Barnabas and Rita. Take the right measures. The next day, on the morning of June 25, 1995, the news of the mysterious man's return was on the front page of the Daily Prophet. To be precise, the entire page of the newspaper reported the relevant news. The British magic world immediately felt like it was facing a great enemy. In fact, many important people had already received the news before. The Auror army was fully deployed, guarding major important locations while searching for the traces of Voldemort and the Death Eaters. The Azkaban prison, which holds a large number of Death Eaters, has also strengthened its defense force several times. As mentioned earlier, some Death Eaters, such as Snape, Lucius Malfoy, Igor Karkaroff, the Caro brothers and sisters, have been exempted from punishment for various reasons. At this time, such major suspects cannot be let go. Although most people cannot be arrested immediately, it is no problem to monitor and put them under house arrest. According to Harry Potter's testimony, after Voldemort was resurrected, he used the Dark Mark to summon several Death Eaters to his side. The Dark Mark is equivalent to Voldemort's seal. Whenever a Death Eater kills someone, he will leave a dark mark on the corpse or in the sky. The specific pattern is a gloomy skull with a big python coming out of the skull's mouth like a skull's tongue. The spell to create the dark mark is Mors Mordra. Using this magic, a huge green pattern will remain in the air for a period of time. At the same time, it is also regarded as the mark of the Death Eaters and is branded on the left arm of everyone who joins the ranks of the Death Eaters. Whenever Voldemort is powerful or appears around, the mark on the Death Eaters' arms will be as painful as burning, and will become clearer and clearer, and turn red. If the Death Eaters do not get to the Dark Lord in time, the dark mark will become charred. As long as Voldemort presses the dark mark on a Death Eater's arm, he can summon other Death Eaters, and at this time they must immediately apparate to Voldemort's side and obey his orders. When a Death Eater touches the dark mark branded on his left arm, Voldemort can also feel the call and apparate to him. However, don't think that you can set a trap to catch Voldemort using this method. Because the Death Eater's summons to Voldemort had no coercive power. Whether the Dark Lord came or not depended on his mood. Moreover, Voldemort was suspicious by nature. He could sense the emotional fluctuations of the Death Eaters to a certain extent, and would not show up if he felt something was wrong. A boss could refuse his subordinates' requests for a meeting, but the Death Eaters could not refuse the boss's summons. Otherwise, it would be a betrayal. As soon as Voldemort was resurrected, he summoned his subordinates with the dark mark on Amicus Caro's arm. Unfortunately, most of his subordinates were imprisoned in Azkaban prison and naturally could not get out. The few who were still alive did not all come. Only a handful of people came. Voldemort wanted to show off in front of Harry and let him see how strong his army was. In the end, only a few of them came, which was really embarrassing. So he punished them a little on the grounds that they had not looked for him in the past 10 years. He also took off the masks of these people. Unfortunately, Harry was too young to recognize many people. Among the Death Eaters, he only recognized one of them, Lucius Malfoy. He was also the one who was beaten the worst by Voldemort. If Voldemort had not been so short of manpower, he would have wanted to kill him immediately. The real reason is that the Dark Lord cannot say it clearly. We know it very well, because the Horcruxes were destroyed. So far, Voldemort has lost 4 Horcruxes. Let's not talk about Harry Potter's Horcrux, which was accidentally formed. After all, Voldemort himself didn't know about it. He still can't figure it out. The other 3 Horcruxes that were destroyed are, Tom Riddle's diary, Ravenclaw's diadem, and Hufflepuff's cup. Among them, Ravenclaw's diadem was placed in the room of requirement at Hogwarts by Voldemort. It was his bad luck to be discovered. The other two Horcruxes were all given to special people for safekeeping. Bellatrix Lestrange was the one who kept the cup. She has been in prison, so it's not her fault if something happened. But Lucius was not in prison. The diary he kept was destroyed. How could Voldemort let him off easily? Harry would not let Lucius go either. He was hostile to the Malfoy family. This time, he saw with his own eyes that Lucius was a Death Eater, so he quickly reported it to Dumbledore. Dumbledore immediately conveyed it to Minister Fudge. At this time, the minister had been convinced. So he took measures immediately. Lucius did not even see the Daily Prophet the next morning. After accepting the boss's task and returning home, he was writing letters to contact the major families when a group of Aurors broke in and captured him. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1488. Originally, Minister Fudge was unwilling to provoke an ancient pure-blood family like the Malfoys, which belonged to the Holy 28 Clans. He even had to look up to them. But now the situation is different. Since he wants to show his toughness and attitude, a chicken to scare the monkey is indispensable. No one is more suitable to be this chicken than Lucius. Lucius was originally a Death Eater. He was exempted from punishment by bribing some senior officials and claiming that he was cursed by the Imperius. At this level, money is actually just a byproduct. What is more important is the distribution of resources and interests, and personal connections. In order to protect himself, Lucius has bled a lot, but he has also brought him closer to the Ministry of Magic. Generally speaking, Fudge is really reluctant to use him as a scapegoat. It is rare to have such a generous sponsor who is willing to pay. However, Harry has already exposed him. If he does nothing, it would be a bit nonsense. No matter how painful it is, this knife must be cut. Lucius was also arrested with his wife Narcissa. Narcissa is from the Black family and is the cousin of Sirius and Bellatrix. Because she has always been very smart and low-key, basically no one knows that she is a Death Eater. However, this time, the Aurors raided the Malfoy Manor, and Narcissa did not understand the situation for a while, and used the killing curse Avada Kedavra, one of the 3 unforgivable spells, during the battle. Although she killed an Auror, she also got herself involved. The couple was captured, leaving behind the 15-year-old Draco Malfoy. Fortunately, even in the world of wizards, martial ethics are also respected, and the Ministry of Magic did not arrest Draco for the sins of his parents. However, under Rita's slander, Minister Fudge sent people to take over the Malfoy family's manor in the name of guardians, and Draco was temporarily suspended from school and placed under house arrest. In the name of receiving one-on-one higher education at home. In fact, it was in this name that various forces were united to divide the Malfoy family's property. The cost of hiring a magic teacher for 1 month is higher than Draco's 1-year tuition at Hogwarts. How can we justify this? As for Draco's studies, no one cares. Everyone just doesn't want Draco to show up in school and be used by others. Of course, the Malfoy family is one of the 28 sacred families after all, so everyone must not be too greedy. It takes a long time to slowly drain his family property, and finally leave something for Draco to fill the door. And the Ministry of Magic cannot eat alone, but must bring other forces together. Especially the other people of the 28 sacred families. If you don't bring them in, don't even think about splitting the Malfoy family's assets. This news was told to Xiaoming by Sirius. He is considered a branch of the Black family and also participated in this feast. Although Sirius didn't care about the money, it was in his heart to split the Malfoy family's property. It can also save more family property for Harry. Lucius and Narcissa were both people who knew the current situation. They told the truth in the Wizengamot court. Now the resurrection of Voldemort was finally confirmed. Minister Fudge couldn't help but wipe a cold sweat. It was a close call. Fortunately, he listened to the advice of the think tanks, otherwise this would be enough to make himself fall. The Wizengamot is the highest court in the British wizarding world. It is composed of about 50 members, including the Minister of Magic, senior deputy ministers, senior officials, and other famous wizards. The highest officer is called the Chief Wizard of the Wizengamot, currently Dumbledore. Fudge, Umbridge, Old Barty, and Amelia Susan Bones are all in it. Members of the Wizengamot all wear purple robes with an exquisite silver W embroidered on the left chest. They are responsible for judging the most serious cases. For example, cases related to Voldemort are basically handled by the Wizengamot. The trial is conducted in the form of the interrogator asking questions, the clerk is responsible for taking notes, and the final verdict is made by raising hands. In the original book, probably at this stage, Harry Potter was framed by Umbridge and sent to this court. Fortunately, he was acquitted in the end. In this life, Umbridge has committed suicide in St. Mungo's Hospital for Magical Maladies and Injuries, and will not come out to make trouble. Fudge is also on the same front as Dumbledore, and Harry will no longer be in such danger. Due to Lucius and Narcissa's excellent performance in court, and their initiative to secretly offer some of the family's secret assets, the Ministry of Magic agreed not to put the two in Azkaban prison, but temporarily detain them in the Ministry of Magic. When things calm down, they will naturally let them go. The assets of the major families are not just what is on the surface. They will not only store a sum of property in the underground vault of Gringotts, but also find places to hide some treasures. Sometimes, the location of these treasures is lost, making their own families unable to find them. Thousands of years later, maybe someone else will find it again. And it will create a new legend. The Ministry of Magic can confiscate the Malfoy family's visible property, but they can't do anything about Gringotts, let alone the hidden treasures. Since Lucius is so sensible and willing to use this money to buy his life, Fudge and others are naturally happy to accept it. Needless to say, the Malfoy family must have something hidden deeper. Everyone tacitly agreed. You can't dig up everyone's roots, right? There is also a bottom line among the nobles. Lucius provided 3 useful pieces of information in court. The first was a list of some of the Death Eaters who were still active. This gave the Ministry of Magic more targets to blackmail. For example, the Carrows, the Carrow family they came from was also one of the 28 sacred families. The family was also very rich. Second, Lucius confessed the task Voldemort had given him. That was to hold back the Ministry of Magic before the Dark Lord's power grew stronger. Just like the original book, the Ministry of Magic was told not to trust Harry and buy some time for Voldemort. During this time, what exactly did Voldemort want to do? He wanted to attack Azkaban prison and rescue all the Death Eaters. This was the third major piece of news Lucius confessed. Lucius also provided Voldemort with a very useful tool. Remember what Lucius's purpose was at Hogwarts School? He came to investigate what could cause harm to Dementors. This news was a big deal for Dementors. This showed that the Ministry of Magic was secretly studying how to deal with them. By making good use of this information, Voldemort can bring the remaining Dementors in Azkaban under his command. In fact, Lucius really underestimated Voldemort. After the resurrection, Voldemort can no longer be considered a normal human being. His nature is somewhat similar to that of Dementors. In the original book, Voldemort easily recruited Dementors and released all the Death Eaters in Azkaban prison. It can be done without this information. The following are the Holy 28 clans: Amber Avery Blackbird Deborah Carlo Crouch, Fly Flint Gaunt Greengrass Lestrange Longbottom Macmillan, Malfoy Not Ollivander Parkinson Pruitt Rosier Roll, Selwyn Shacklebolt Chaffix Raghorn Traverse Wesley Axley. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1489. Almost every official and Auror of the Ministry of Magic knew that Azkaban prison must be Voldemort's next target, because it held his most valued subordinates. In the 10 years when Voldemort lost power, a large number of Death Eaters who were very loyal to him were arrested and thrown into Azkaban prison. Some of them have been tortured to death by Dementors, but many have survived. And those who can survive the 10 years of torture by Dementors are all strong main force, no less than the combat members of the Order of the Phoenix. Even if he knew that the Ministry of Magic had strengthened the defense of Azkaban, Voldemort would definitely come. The only difference was the time. Azkaban is a prison located on a small island in the middle of the North Sea. It was built in the 15th century and became a wizard prison in Britain since 1718. Through some specific spells, Azkaban is hidden in the Muggle world and cannot be mapped. Its interior uses the Traceless extension spell to ensure that it can accommodate all criminals in Britain. Azkaban was originally a fortress inhabited by an evil wizard who called himself Extus. He lured Muggles to the island and tortured them to death. After Extus' death, the concealment charms he had used on the fortress and the island failed. The Ministry of Magic then learned of the existence of such an island. By this time, the place was already full of Dementors, creatures that could suck all the happiness out of their victims and have a very negative effect on those who approached them. The authorities considered destroying the fortress, but they were afraid that if they did so, the island or the Dementors on the island would retaliate against them. Therefore, this proposal was not accepted. After Damocles Roll was elected Minister for Magic in 1718, he insisted on using Azkaban as a prison because he believed that the Dementors on the island could act as guards, saving time, money, and energy. Despite opposition, the plan was implemented. As there were almost no escapes and violations of the Statute of Secrecy, Azkaban has existed as a prison ever since. Later, Minister Eldritch Diggory, who took office in 1733, was deeply moved by the terrible scene inside after inspecting Azkaban prison. He began to think about alternatives, hoping to replace the Dementors at the very least. Unfortunately, he died of illness in 1747, and the plan was left unfinished. Now that Voldemort's resurrection has been confirmed, Azkaban prison has once again become the focus of the Ministry of Magic's attention. Although the number of Aurors has been increased several times for defense, the Dark Lord is also very clear about this. If he comes to attack, he must be well prepared. These Aurors may not be able to resist. So someone suggested that we should not increase defenses in public, but do this secretly. But it was quickly rejected. Voldemort is not stupid. If there is no increase in troops in public, can't he see it? This little trick can't fool him. Azkaban will definitely be set as a trap by the Ministry of Magic. Moreover, Voldemort's Imperious Curse is extremely powerful. He might not dare to confront the large force of Aurors at the moment, but there will always be someone left alone and caught by him. The various traps arranged by the Ministry of Magic are unlikely to be hidden from him. So Rita quietly proposed another plan to Minister Fudge. That is to take multiple approaches. On the surface, Amelia Susan Bones, Director of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, will join other relevant departments to arrange the defense of Azkaban. The Auror Command is under her direct jurisdiction. Secretly, Minister Fudge united a group of forces against Voldemort to arrange another conspiracy. You must know that even among pure-blood families, not all people support Voldemort. It is true that they value their bloodline, but few people want to rule all Muggles like Voldemort. They also oppose the extreme means of the Dark Lord. It is estimated that neither of these two plans can escape Voldemort's eyes. The real killer is Dumbledore and his Order of the Phoenix. On the surface, old Dumbledore will also participate in the first two plans. In secret, he didn't need to report the means he arranged to anyone. To achieve maximum confidentiality. If even Dumbledore couldn't handle it, then there was nothing to say. It was fate. And there was someone to share the responsibility. Even if he failed, as long as he announced to the public that even Albus Dumbledore, the greatest wizard of today, couldn't deal with Voldemort, no one would blame Fudge. After all, the magic world is not the real world. The total number of people is not too large, and no one doesn't know Dumbledore. With this excellent shield, Fudge is indeed safe. Dumbledore can arrange this kind of thing himself, and he didn't use this reason to disturb the leader's right guard who obviously intended to stay out of it. When Voldemort just resurrected, Dumbledore was worried about Harry's safety and quickly asked Xiao Ming to return to school. But that was just a stopgap measure. The next day, Minister Fudge fully activated the state of emergency and mobilized all forces to prepare to fight Voldemort. Even Lucius was captured. The burden on old Dumbledore's shoulders was lightened. Voldemort must be too busy to take care of himself now, and it is unlikely that he will cause trouble to Harry in the short term. In addition, he can also allocate part of the power of the Order of the Phoenix to protect Harry. The work of the bodyguard of the right guard of the leader is basically over. Because the blood protection that Lily cast on Harry was no longer effective against Voldemort. So in the summer vacation of 1995, Harry did not return to his uncle Vernon Dursley's home. Although Hogwarts Castle is safe, the school stipulates that students cannot stay overnight during the summer vacation, so Harry lived in the Unujian shop. This is the secret club of the Order of the Phoenix, where there are members of the Order of the Phoenix for a long time, plus there are hundreds of ghosts guarding the shop. The security here is very good. And when Harry was absorbed into the Order of the Phoenix, his whereabouts in the shop were specially protected. Because last summer, at the request of Dumbledore, the leader's right guard became the confidential person of the Order of the Phoenix base Unujian shop. As long as Xiao Ming does not actively leak information, any member of the Order of the Phoenix will not be discovered by outsiders in the shop. This trick is really good. In the original book, due to Fudge's non-cooperation, Dumbledore at this time made a stupid move to protect Harry. He hoped to divert Voldemort's attention from Harry by distancing himself from him. After all, old Dumbledore thought that Voldemort should be targeting himself as the main target. Unexpectedly, it backfired. This move not only failed to reduce Voldemort's attention to Harry, but also hurt the child's young heart. Due to Dumbledore's estrangement, Harry's intelligence was not communicated to him in time, and he acted privately. As a result, it caused tragic consequences, and Sirius died at the hands of the Death Eaters. In this life, our side is now strong and powerful, and Dumbledore does not need to do such meaningless things. I am sorry that there is no punctuation in the author's words in the previous chapter. This chapter makes up for it. Abbott, Avery, Black, Bulstrode, Burke, Caro, Crouch, Flay, Flint, Gaunt, Greengrass, Lestrange, Longbottom, Macmillan, Malfoy, Knott, Ollivander, Parkinson, Pruitt, Rosier, Rowe, Selwyn, Shacklebolt, Shafik, Slughorn, Traverse, Weasley, Yaxley. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1490. At the beginning of the new school year, Severus Snape was ordered to teach defense against the dark arts. The potions class originally taught by him was replaced by a new teacher, Horace Slughorn. Last school year, Mad-Eye Moody taught defense against the dark arts. In fact, the real teacher was Barty Crouch Jr., and the real Moody had been imprisoned. Logically, the real Moody should have taught this year. But the problem is that the Order of the Phoenix and Voldemort are about to fight, and Moody's fighting power cannot be wasted in school. So Dumbledore made some adjustments and transferred Snape over. In addition, he specially invited his old colleague Horace to teach potions. This old gentleman was once the dean of Slytherin College and was particularly good at potions. He has taught many outstanding students, including Voldemort when he was young, Harry's mother Lily, Snape. This qualification is also quite old. Originally, Xiao Ming also thought that Dumbledore invited him because he saw his teaching ability. Later, when Harry came to ask for help, he realized that there was another meaning. When Tom Riddle became Voldemort and began to harm the entire wizarding world, Dumbledore collected a large number of memories related to Voldemort from his colleagues. For no other reason, just to find the weakness of the Dark Lord. One of the memories was from Horace, which made the old man always worried. Because he noticed that the memory had been modified. The modifier was probably Horace himself. How serious was the matter that made Horace choose to modify the memory? Dumbledore had to be more careful. Because Tom Riddle's diary appeared, Dumbledore already had some guesses. He suspected that the diary was a Horcrux. If it was really a Horcrux, then Voldemort would be more difficult to deal with than imagined. Because he was unkillable, all his Horcruxes must be destroyed before killing him. So Dumbledore needed to get an accurate answer. This required him to get that real memory. This is why old Dumbledore asked Horace to be a professor. Horcruxes are taboo knowledge, and even among professors, not many people know about them. And the knowledgeable Horace is one of them. Dumbledore needs to know whether Voldemort has learned the relevant knowledge and how much he knows about Horcruxes. Horace is a very interesting person. He was born in the Slughorn family, one of the 28 sacred families. But he is not a pure-blooded person like Lucius and Narcissa. When he was teaching at Hogwarts, Horace created a slug club, which specifically invited outstanding students, children of famous and successful people, and children from families with good interpersonal relationships in the magic world. There is no restriction on bloodline. Otherwise, Voldemort, Lily, and Snape would not have been favored by him. He valued ability and background. Being with outstanding people can further highlight his own excellence. Through the Slug Club, Horace has established a very large network of relationships for himself. How big is this network? Simply put, if Voldemort had such connections, he would have unified the British wizarding world long ago. But Horace did not use his connections to stir up trouble, nor did he even use them to accumulate a lot of wealth. He simply enjoyed a kind of happiness. A kind of happiness of collecting celebrities. Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Ginny Weasley were all invited to join the Slug Club. On the contrary, for students with mediocre qualifications, he was even too lazy to remember their names. For example, Ron, Neville, and others. In addition, he was also greedy for material enjoyment, and his favorite was oak-aged honey wine, pineapple candied fruit, and velvet smoking jackets. Therefore, he would occasionally use his connections to make a little money, but he was not interested in more. It can be said that he was vain, greedy for pleasure, and even a little snobbish, but this person really didn't have any bad intentions. Even when Voldemort was extremely powerful, he did not surrender to him. Instead, he kept avoiding the Death Eaters. Dumbledore took a lot of effort to find him. Then he took Harry around in front of him and seduced him to the school. There was no way, Harry Potter was too famous. If he couldn't recruit him into the Slug Club, Horace felt that his life was incomplete. Privately, Dumbledore secretly showed Harry that memory and explained his thoughts. He hoped that Harry could get the real news from Horace. Before that, Harry had tried several times, but he had never succeeded. So he asked the leader's right guard for help. He finally found the right person. Xiao Ming didn't need to use the power of the underworld to check Horace's life. Because there was another person involved in that memory, Voldemort. And Xiao Ming knew Voldemort's life. It was just such a boring thing that Xiao Ming was too lazy to pay attention to before. Since Harry asked him for help, Xiao Ming took the initiative to look it up. Sure enough, after a slug club meeting, Tom took the initiative to stay and chat with Horace alone. During the period, he asked about the Horcrux. If it was another teacher, such as Dumbledore, he would have rejected it sternly at the beginning. But Horace's personality was to show off and teach others. He patiently explained such terrible knowledge to Tom. During this period, Tom even vaguely revealed that he wanted to split his soul into 7 pieces and make 6 Horcruxes. This was very important information for Dumbledore. So, the next day, Xiao Ming gave this memory to Harry. He has been in this world for 2 years, and Xiao Ming can easily use this level of magic. Especially the magic related to memory, which has something in common with the power of the underworld, is easier to use. In addition to this memory, when teaching ninjutsu privately, Xiao Ming also secretly gave old Dumbledore a good news. Tell him that the 3 Horcruxes, Ravenclaw's diadem, Hufflepuff's gold cup, and Harry himself have been destroyed by himself. By the way, he also gave him the gold cup. Although I don't want to interfere with this world, I have to tell them about this. Otherwise, there will be a big mess. Dumbledore and the members of the Order of the Phoenix took great pains to destroy the other Horcruxes. In the end, they couldn't find the remaining Horcruxes. That's funny. Xiao Ming doesn't have that kind of boring taste. It's better to tell old Dumbledore the news as soon as possible. Of course, Dumbledore got not only the good news of the destruction of the 3 Horcruxes from Xiao Ming, but also powerful ninjutsu. Since there will be a big battle in Azkaban prison, the 5 deans all want to learn some powerful ninjutsu. It is best to use it to ambush people in battle. Xiao Ming satisfied their wishes and taught them the multiple shadow clone technique. Naruto relied on this technique to conquer the world. I wonder how powerful it will be in the hands of the 5 deans.